What's up, guys? This is Joe with McCpicks, breaking down UFC 285 pay-per-view event. John Jones taking on Cyril Gane. We have the long-awaited return of John Jones. Currently 14 scheduled bouts in this card, a big pay-per-view event. And to be honest, it's kind of a treat after, as UFC fans, we had to sit through the last 2 weeks of fight nights with last weekend's co-main event being Zach Pauga taking on Jordan Wright, and then last night's main event getting canceled. So, like I said, we have 14 fights, a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. The first fight of the night, Esteban Ribovics taking on Loik Radzhabov. Tough one to pronounce on the first fight. So it's kind of funny how Tajikistan was going nuts getting its first fight in the UFC in the previous card in the Rulo, and now we have Radzhabov making his UFC debut. So these two fighters are kind of opposites in terms of their styles. You have Ribovics, who's a finisher. He has a 100% finish rate. He's athletic, flashy strikes and combinations. And then you have Radzhabov, who's more of a grinder, lands single shots. He can mix in the wrestling, but he tends to strike first. And he's also super durable. So something happened with Radzhabov. He was on The Ultimate Fighter, and then rumor is that he got kicked off The Ultimate Fighter because McGregor wanted to bring some of his buddies in. But either way, it worked out from the end because he was signed by the UFC and he's making his debut here. Ribovic's cardio, even though he's a fast fighter, he starts off quick, like I said, 100% finish rate, but his cardio is actually not terrible. I saw him in the third round in a couple of his fights, obviously tired, but he was still able to string along some combinations and get the finish in the third round a few times. But take a look at his record, low level of competition. And then Radzhabov, on the other hand, he has some solid experience. He was in the PFL for a bunch of fights, and I believe he has two fights that went all 5 rounds. So he has fourth and fifth round experience. So the cardio's there and the durability's there. In terms of a side, when I'm making this video or making this breakdown, there is no line. I'm assuming that Radzhabov is going to be the favorite because of his experience and because he's well-rounded and because he's durable. What I like in this fight, I don't know what the total is going to be set at. I'm hoping it's going to be set at 1.5, given how aggressive Ribovics is. So I'm hoping to play the over 1.5 rounds, but the prediction is going to be Radzhabov by decision. Next, we have Farid Basharat taking on Damon Blackshear. Let's take a look at the line here. Basharat is a very big favorite, currently sitting minus 480, and Blackshear is the underdog plus 350. So honestly, both these Basharat guys, Javid and Farid Basharat, are super impressive, and they both have similar fight styles. Farid is super well-rounded, and he fights at a really high pace. He's undefeated, and honestly, he doesn't look to have many major holes in his game, similar to his brother Javid. Blackshear, on the other hand, he just recently made his UFC debut. He was on short notice too against Yusuf Zalal, but he has some really, really solid experience on the regional scene. He fought in the CFFC regional organization, which is one of the top ones, and he fought some really good competition. He has 4 losses, all by decision, so he's durable. But he lost to Danny Sabatello, who's obviously very good, Pat Sabatini, and Chris Mutino, who are both in the UFC right now. Blackshear is big for the division. He's a grappler. Like I said, he's durable. But his last fight was a draw. But if you watch that, I thought Zalal won that fight. He almost got finished by Zalal, actually. That's not a good look because this guy's not a finisher. But again, he did take that fight on short notice. So overall, the line might be a little bit wide here, but it's honestly tough not to favor Basharat, especially after seeing how Zalal was beating him up on the ground and on the feet. So the prediction is going to be Basharat by decision. Next, we have Jessica Penne taking on Tabitha Ricci. And this fight's a rebooking. It was booked, I think, a couple months ago. Ricci, big favorite, minus 265. And Penne is a plus 200 underdog. So honestly, this is a great card. There's going to be a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to. Not really looking forward to this one. But Penne is a veteran of the sport. She's super experienced. She's well-rounded. And he's actually really crafty with her grappling. and she's going to be the bigger fighter in this matchup. With all that being said, she's 40 years old and will be 12 years older than Ricci. Ricci's the better wrestler, and with her wrestling, she can more than likely dictate where this fight takes place. So, from a money line perspective, I'm not touching this fight, but both girls are tough, and I can see a scenario where Ricci just takes her down, takes Penne down, holds her down, and grinds this one out to a decision. I like the fight goes the distance or the over 2.5 rounds. Probably going to be juiced. I don't know, minus 250, minus 300. I'll probably end up throwing that in a parlay or something like that. But the prediction is going to be Ricci via decision. But to be honest, I'll probably get the wings in the oven or grab a beer during this fight. Not too much interest here. Next, we have Cameron Simon taking on Mana Martinez. Really, actually exciting fight we have here. Interesting fight. Let's take a look at the line here. Simon is a sizable favorite, minus 286 and plus 220 for Mana Martinez. I think this line is wide. Simon has looked good. He's a young, undefeated prospect out of South Africa, but in my opinion, he's still super unproven. He hasn't fought anyone really of substance. He fought a guy in Contender Series that gassed out, and then he took on a short notice replacement in his UFC debut, Steven Kozlow, who only had a round of cardio in him, and he gassed out. And both these fighters, Simon finished in the third round, but Simon fought through some adversity there. He wasn't like the dominate these guys. So Mana is clearly going to be the toughest test of Cameron's career so far. Mana's big for the division, hits really hard. He's durable, and he's overall pretty well rounded. He doesn't really wrestle too much, but he can wrestle. Um, but honestly, looking back at Simon, what has impressed me the most about him is his cardio. He does not slow down. He's not even breathing heavy in the third round of his fights. I think that's the way he wins most of his fights, by capitalizing on his opponent's cardio and putting pressure and output and volume, especially in that third round. So Mana does show some periods of inactivity on the feet, and he has slowed down in the past, but I wouldn't say he has bad cardio by any means. Specifically for the cardio, output, well-rounded striking, I slightly favor Simon in this fight. But honestly, it's a tough fight to call. And like I said, the line is wide, and a lot of money is still coming in on Cameron. So I'm going to sit back and wait and see what this line does. I might take a shot on Mana Martinez just because I think he has a decent shot in this fight. Like I said, he's powerful. He definitely has the experience and level of competition advantage, and he's just a gritty, tough overall fighter. But the official prediction is going to be Simon via decision. Next, we have Song Kenan taking on Ian Gary. Gary is a sizable favorite. He is currently, let's see, minus 620 on FanDuel, and Song is plus 400. So I think this is just a solid matchup for Ian Gary. The UFC knows what they're doing here. Kenan looks like to be a decent striker, but he hasn't fought in 2 years, and he has durability issues. He's been knocked out in 3 of his 6 losses. Gary is the bigger, younger, more durable fighter, and I think he just has sharper and faster hands. He may not have the best striking defense, but honestly, he's looked really good lately, and he looks to be continuing to improve. He's the younger fighter here. This is a spot where I think Gary knocks out Song Kenan, probably in the first round. So, quick breakdown. I think that this is a really good matchup for Gary, and I think Gary knocks him out. So the prediction here is going to be Gary via TKO. And actually, I have a 3-unit parlay. Gary is one of the legs, and I also have Valentina Shevchenko and Shavkat Rakhmonov are the other 2 legs of the parlay, which we'll talk about why later on. Next up, we have MAB, Marc-Andre Barriault, taking on Julian Marquez. Let's take a look at the line here. So I believe Marc-Andre opened up as the underdog. He did. He opened up as around plus 128 underdog, and money's been consistently coming in on him. Let's see what he is now. Yeah, he's minus 140 on FanDuel, plus 110 for Julian Marquez. So I think that these fighters are very similar in many ways. They're about the same size. They're both pressure fighters. They're predominant strikers, and they both have defensive wrestling liability. Marquez looks to be the stronger guy with definitely has a higher finishing upside, where Marc-Andre is more technical and defensively sound. Personally, I favor the cardio of MAB. Marquez, especially in his last fight, he got beat up really bad by RoboCop Rodriguez. Barrio also got dominated, but this was more so in the grappling department by Hernandez. But he was choked out and finished. He didn't take as like severe damage as Marquez did in his last fight. But overall, it's a kind of a tough fight to call. Both guys really don't wrestle offensively, so this fight more than likely will play out on the feet. Personally, I'm going to favor Marc-Andre Barriault because I think he'll land more output on the feet. He's higher volume. He's more defensively sound. He's more technical, and I think he has better cardio. So prediction's going to be Marc-Andre Barriault by decision. I'm sorry, by knockout, but I can see a decision happening here. Next, we have Viviane Araújo taking on Amanda Ribas. Ribas is the favorite, minus 138 on FanDuel, plus 108 for Araújo. So when I first was just looking at the card face value, I thought I was going to choose Ribas. So originally, like her side, she's 7 years younger, she has higher output, great cardio, and just really well-rounded. But after just looking into her fights, her striking defense is terrible. So her durability is definitely a concern for me. I have no idea how she has a 70% striking defense on paper. She gets hit by some big shots in almost all of her fights. And at one point, she was knocked down by Verna Jandiroba, which is not a good look. And she's been knocked out in 2 of her 3 losses. Although she only has 3 knockouts on her record, Araujo looks to hit really hard. She's a good grappler in her own right with good wrestling defense. On paper, it's 90%. So I actually think I'm going to take a shot on Araujo by knockout, or maybe even the knockout only line on DraftKings, whatever they open up that at. Ribas, probably more likely to win a decision given her pace and her output. But honestly, her striking defense and durability just are super concerning. I think at some point, Araujo hurts her on the feet and then finishes her. So prediction is going to be Araujo by knockout. Next, we have a banger of a fight. We have Dricus du Plessis taking on Derek Brunson. Du Plessis is the favorite, currently sitting at, let's see here, minus 235 with Derek Brunson at plus 180. So obviously Brunson's the better wrestler. He's the best wrestler that du Plessis has ever fought. But his durability is obviously a major concern. He's been knocked out 6 times. Du Plessis might not be the most technical fighter. He honestly does not look good on tape, but you just can't deny his power. It also looks like he gasses out in the first round of every one of his fights, but he just never slows down. His mouth is open after like the first exchange, but it's pretty consistent that way, and he's able to keep up his output. So du Plessis is also well-rounded and is a threat on the feet and on the mat. But like I said, he has not fought a wrestler like Brunson. So here's the thing. Brunson could be winning the entire fight with ground control, and then they stand up for 1 second, or, du Plessis gets up and knocks him out. Every time they are striking, Brunson is going to be in danger. And du Plessis also sets a super high pace with really high output every single one of his fights. So I'm personally going to be looking to play the under because du Plessis has been finished in both of his losses. And I'll probably take a shot on du Plessis by knockout, whatever they put that line out. But the official prediction is du Plessis by knockout. Next, we have Trevin Jones taking on Cody Garbrandt. Is Cody No Love shot? Is he done? We're going to find out here because he's getting a huge step down in competition in Trevin Jones. So I think Cody's going to be let's talk about the line here. It's not that wide. Garbrandt is the favorite. Let's see, he's minus 180 on FanDuel with Trevin Jones plus 140. So Cody's going to be the minute winner here. He has faster hands, more output, higher wrestling upside, in my opinion. But again, the main question is, can Cody take a punch? Is he have any durability left? So Jones is typically losing the fight until he's not. Like against Mario Bautista and Timur Valiev, he was losing both those fights, and then he cracked them and ended up getting a knockout win. Cody has fought the way better level of competition. It's not even close. Although Trevin Jones has fought some seriously good guys so far in his UFC stint. Let's take a look at who he fought. I think this is either 5th or 6th fight in the UFC. But the UFC definitely has not given Trevin Jones any favors. He fought Timur Valiev in his UFC debut. He knocked him out. Then he fought Mario Bautista, knocked him out. And then he fought Saidukub Kakramanov, a very good fighter. He got submitted there. Then he fought Javid Basharat, brother of Farid Basharat, on this card, lost by decision. And then he got dominated by Howani Barcelo. So he has not been given any favors so far in the UFC. But overall, I just think that Cody's a faster fighter. He is the minute winner. And honestly, even though Trevin Jones has 2 knockouts in both his wins in the UFC, he has 13 wins, only 3 of them are by knockout. So I don't know if he switched something up in his game or he just kind of developed this power, but he's historically not really a knockout threat, but he definitely does have some power. But the prediction is going to be Garbrandt by knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a decision. Here we go. UFC debut of Bo Nickel. He's taking on Jamie Pickett. UFC's giving him a layup here. Let's see if he can handle this one. But let's take a look at the line. I think he's the biggest favorite on the card. Bo Nickel minus 1,800 on FanDuel, and Jamie Pickett is plus 800 on FanDuel. So obviously the money line is just unplayable. But I think we'll find some value in this fight. But let me get into the breakdown first. Yeah. So what's there to say about this one? Nickel obviously looks legit, but he's 3-0 against lower level competition. Although he did completely run through these guys that he's fought so far. His striking needs work. His wrestling is obviously elite based on his background, but he also looks like he's picking up on jiu-jitsu super quick. If you didn't watch his last fight, he had a really, really good transition into a triangle choke, which was super, super slick and quick, and he was able to get the finish there. Jamie, on the other hand, is a fairly durable fighter, but he struggled with the grappling in his past, couple fights. Like I said, this is pretty much a tailor-made matchup for Nickel, and the UFC wants him to win. I think he just takes Pickett down and submits him probably in the first round. So the prediction is going to be Nickel via submission, probably round 1. And I'm personally definitely going to play that submission prop. Next fight is Mateusz Gamrot taking on Jalen Turner. I'm really happy the UFC was able to keep Turner on this card. I like the original matchup better, him against Dan Hooker, but again, I'm happy they kept him on the card because his fights are always fireworks. Let's look at the line here. Gamrot is currently minus 196. Turner is plus 152. So Turner is about as big and dangerous as they come. There's a huge discrepancy, though, with the level of competition. Just a few years ago, Frivola was able to lay out the blueprint to defeat Turner with his wrestling, and Turner has really not fought a wrestler since. Gamrot is super well-rounded, and he's a very good wrestler. He's also super durable, never been finished, but that durability is more than likely going to be tested in this matchup. Although he has been knocked down 3 times in the UFC so far, but he's never really been like dazed or anything like that. He has good recoverability, pops right back up and gets right back into it. So although they were earlier in his career, Turner has been finished 3 times. I think both guys have a lot of finishing upside in this fight, and I think a finish will likely materialize given how aggressive Turner fights. He just forces the action, and in turn forces big exchanges. I personally like Gamrot in this matchup a lot because he's more durable. He's a well-rounded fighter, and he has super good cardio and more of the wrestling upside. And I think he takes Turner down and goes for like a ground and pound finish, probably in like the second round. So I actually have 2 units on Gamrot money line. I locked this in maybe like a week ago. I got it at minus 170, so the line got hit a little bit. But I'll also be looking to play the under 2.5 rounds here because I think that both guys can get a finish. But official prediction, Gamrot by knockout. Next fight, we have a really good one. Another rebooking. Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Jeff Neal. Weird seeing Jeff Neal as this big of an underdog, but Jeff Neal is currently sitting plus 340 and Rakhmonov minus 500. So Neal will definitely be Rakhmonov's most dangerous opponent so far. He's experienced, hands are really sharp, he has fast hands, he has good takedown defense, he's just solid all around. But Rakhmonov, on the other hand, he's a super, honestly, exciting prospect. He's dangerous everywhere. He's at 100% finish rate. His ground and pound is nasty. So what makes him different with his ground and pound, he doesn't wing shots. All of his punches are straight down, they're measured and they're accurate. He doesn't wing them at all, so they do a lot of damage. Neal is probably the better striker, but there's a huge, huge grappling discrepancy here. And not to do MMA math, but take a look at what Rachmanov did to Magny, and Magny beat Jeff Neal. MMA math. Neal's path to victory, I think, is just hurting Rachmanov on the feet and getting a knockout. So he's pretty much knockout or bust. Shavkat is 16-0 for a reason. He's been running through his UFC level of competition so far, and I think that he passes the test of Jeff Neal here. I think he gets Jeff Neal down, beats him up a bit, and then submits him probably in the second round or so. So, like I mentioned earlier, I have Shavkat in a parlay, a 3-unit parlay with Gary and Valentina Shevchenko. I'll also be looking to play the under 2.5 rounds if it's going to be set at that. I'm not sure. It might be set at 1.5 because it's also going to cover Jeff Neal's win condition, in my opinion. And I'll probably be looking to play Rachmanov by submission as well. But the prediction, Rachmanov by sub. Next fight, we have the champ, Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, taking on Alexa Grasso. Shevchenko, no surprise, really big favorite. She is minus 670, and Alexa Grasso is plus 430. So Valentina Shevchenko is the third and final leg of my parlay. Like I said, I got 3 units on it. I think it came out to around minus 150. So it's around 3 units to win 2 unit. So with this fight, people are going to be playing Grasso after seeing a close fight during Valentina's last fight against Santos. But Santos was able to out-grapple Shevchenko, which is where she found success. Grasso's not a grappler; she's a striker, and I think Valentina's better everywhere. She's way more proven, and she's the clearly, clearly better grappler. Grasso does have solid technical boxing, but it's just not going to be enough. She has a 64% takedown defense. I think Valentina is just going to have her way with her. So the prediction that I have is Shevchenko by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised to see like a submission or some sort of positional knockout. But I actually also do have the over 3.5 rounds. I have 1 unit that can be found on DraftKings at minus 115. And I'm also going to be looking to target the alternative total of 1.5 once it gets released on DraftKings. I'll probably throw that in a parlay. Grasso's super tough. I think that Grasso is super tough, and she's just not going to give in easy. But the official prediction, like I said, is Shevchenko by decision. And here we go. We got the main event, Cyril Gane taking on the return of John Bones Jones. Some interesting line moving on this fight, too. So Jones opened up on FanDuel plus 140, which got immediately hit. Now he's sitting at minus 164 with Gane plus 128. So here's the thing. John Jones is moving up a weight class. He's going from light heavyweight to heavyweight. He hasn't fought in over 3 years. And during that 3-year period, he got into some legal trouble where he got arrested. I think he was drunk or on drugs or something like that. And I remember seeing a video. He was slamming his head on the front of a cop car. And he's also now 35 years old. And then his most 2 recent matchups 3 years ago against Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes were super close. And I actually thought Reyes beat him. So the narrative going into this fight is John Jones is going to out-grapple Cyril Gane after seeing what Ngannou did to Cyril Gane. But honestly, John Jones, he's a striker first. He definitely can grapple, but he looks to strike first. So, like I said, Cyril Gane was definitely out-wrestled by Ngannou, but Ngannou's super strong. He's a freak. And you got to think that Cyril wasn't prepared at all for that, and that he's probably working on that in his camp versus John Jones. Like, that's an assumption, but that would make sense. Gane is the better kickboxer in this matchup. I think he's the better striker. He's light on his feet. He's athletic. He has really good volume. Both fighters are super durable, never finished, and they both have great cardio. There's just a lot more question marks surrounding John Jones. I can see this one going to decision, like the betting line indicates. I'll probably be looking at like the alternative total, 2.5 or something like that, looking to parlay that. My concern is with the judging. John Jones is a huge, huge household name when it comes to UFC. He's a star. People will buy the pay-per-view event to see John Jones, similar to Paddy, similar to Sean O'Malley. Both those guys lost their last fights. O'Malley lost to Peter Yan, and Paddy Pimblett lost to Jared Gordon. But I mean, what do you have with those two names? They're star power, they're star value. They bring in pay-per-view buys. So just concerning to me. And people don't like Cyril Gane. They think he's boring. I mean, he wins fights, but they think he's boring. So I actually do like Cyril Gane here. I think he's been, he's more consistently fighting at heavyweight. He's active. He's a better striker. You kind of know exactly what you're going to get with him, whereas John Jones has been out for 3 years, and Gane is the underdog. Now, with all that being said, I would be I'm not gonna I don't think I'm gonna place a bet here. I think actually the best bet honestly probably is John Jones by decision because I have a feeling it's gonna go decision, and I think that John Jones is gonna get some love from the judges. Honestly, I hate to say that. I hate to go down this narrative, but just how it is. I saw an article that was they're already setting up John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, but that's how it is. All right, that about does it. If you guys can, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at McCpicks. That's where I post all my bets. And then I also post my bets and more organized on betmma.tips. The links will be in the description of the video. As always, good luck.